This is kind of an older video of legendary drops, but this is his video on Warframe. So we're gonna see what he has to say because I have been fucking loving Warframe. I know this game came out in 2012. I never fucking played it. I heard about it and I only recently started it, and it's like it's so fun. I've been enjoying the story, and you guys have been enjoying watching me react to the story. So I like this guy's takes on Oblivion. We're gonna watch his Warframe video.
Look, the phrases free-to-play and live service, whether by themselves or in combination with one another, don't fill players with a lot of confidence, and they shouldn't, because they become synonymous with games and studios that are under-delivering on a product and service while asking for the absolute most from their audience. More time, more engagement, more money, extracting as much as they possibly can while putting in the least amount of effort.
What are some good examples? I don't play many games with this model, and I can't think of like another game that is just like squeezing their gamers dry.
Warframe is the most well-known yet under-discussed and underappreciated games in all of gaming. It's often referred to as the internet's best-kept secret.
It really is. League. Oh, that's fucking right. League, Destiny 2. I forgot League now has skins that are $400. I forgot about that. Fallout, Destiny 2, okay. Genshin, that's true.
I'm tired of it being a secret.
Yeah, I'm tired of it too. For all intents and
purposes, Warframe is the blueprint by which many of these free-to-play games and live service games should be following, but they're not. It's a game that is tirelessly supported by its developer and by its community in a way that I don't even think any other game can even replicate. And once you guys hear about some of this stuff, it's going to blow your mind.
I just want to add here that on my first day playing Warframe, I think I got at least 40 drones, Roombas in my inbox. You guys gave me skins and frames, advice. I mean, I got so much support from the Warframe. I mean, it was like I was like, what do I even do? Like, you guys love to spend money on this game, and the devs don't even ask for it.
Free-to-play and live service is supposed to be a way for developers to be able to deliver a smaller product and grow it over time. Be able to deliver a valuable service, a valuable product, and grow it while the community supports it.
Yeah.
And that's the kind of game that Warframe is.
That's
what we're going to be talking about today.
Wow.
Luckily, today's sponsor is actually the game that inspired Warframe.
Oh?
I've played World of Tanks multiple times.
There's no way that World of Tanks is the game that inspired Warframe. That has got to be like a meme.
So what is Warframe? It's a looter shooter, live service MMO with a third-person perspective. You play as a Warframe, you're dashing through levels, taking down enemies, farming up materials, currency, and other items so that you can continue to build more weapons and more Warframes to use. Warframes vary in their looks and abilities. Some of them play like a ninja, others like a battering ram or even a wizard. There's even a frame that lets you create your own music so that you can buff other players.
Yo! Octavia?
Ships, clans, PvP, personal housing, boss fights, a roguelike, a fighting game, open worlds, and more. It has consistently stayed in the top 20 of the most played games on Steam for over a decade now.
What? I didn't know it was like... I didn't know it's the top 20.
And in doing that, there is something inherently special here. If we look at the game's player base on Steam, while it's not burning the world down with insane peaks, it's maintained its player base consistently since 2013, and it's only continued to grow. So how has Warframe...
That doesn't happen. Games that are 10 years old do not grow.
...maintained that success? Why is nobody talking about it? And unlike many other live service games, why aren't we hearing people complaining about it or how it mistreats its players? Well, to answer that, we need to understand the game's history and that of its creators. Now, you may recognize the name Digital Extremes. Renowned for their early work on Unreal Tournament in partnership with Epic Games, they played a pivotal role in shaping the landscape of multiplayer first-person shooters. They were among the first to popularize key features like online multiplayer, power weapons, team deathmatch, and capture the flag.
I've never heard of them before this game.
Many of the multiplayer games that we play today.
Wow.
After parting ways with Epic Games, as Epic went on to make Gears of War with Xbox Studios, they decided to pitch their own game idea, and they tried to do it for over a decade. That game was called Dark Sector. They struggled to find a publisher for this dark sci-fi MMO concept that they had, and ultimately Digital Extremes was forced into doing work for hire just to be able to keep the company afloat.
Oh.
The decision to take on work for hire projects, while necessary for financial stability, came with its own difficulties. The studio faced a cycle of hiring employees for specific projects and then laying them off once that project concluded.
Yep.
This practice is commonplace for work for hire studios. However, it disrupted the lives of their employees and their families, a situation that the studio founder has regretted since then.
Oh no, it's so sad. Having the nature of this industry is just brutal. I mean, it's a lot of temporary work.
I believe that publishers often lacked a clear vision, and that Digital Extremes would have been better off just focusing on smaller, self-controlled projects, as seen with independent studios that tend to produce higher quality work when they're given full creative control. Despite the continuous efforts to pitch Dark Sector to publishers, the studio continued to face rejection, primarily due to a lack of interest when it came to sci-fi games on the side of publishers, a sentiment that somehow never even changed even with the success of Halo. In a desperate move, Digital Extremes caved to a publisher's demands, shifting Dark Sector from a sci-fi MMO to a game that emulated the success of Resident Evil 4 at the time. This change involved transforming the protagonist from a space ninja to a CIA operative named Hayden Tenno, which...
Not John Tenno! This is so funny! Don't tell me this is John Tenno.
Strayed very far from the original concept. The new version of Dark Sector struggled to be able to find an audience. However, it eventually did and gained respectable reviews as well.
Wait. This is a game that exists where there's a guy named Hayden Tenno?
After the release of Dark Sector, the industry started to trend away from AA releases to AAA games, and this made for more issues at Digital Extremes. The studio, which had previously worked on, found itself struggling to find any contracts as they began to dry up and publishers wanted to start making games in-house.
Yeah.
Observing the success of free-to-play games like World of Tanks in 2010, Digital Extremes saw an opportunity in an emerging market.
Aren't you missing a different game?
Free-to-play as a way to be able to milk players. They recognized and saw the potential to be able to create something smaller and grow the game over time rather than trying to pursue a traditional release.
See, I actually didn't know that was the goal of these this system, was growing the game, but I guess that's what happens.
Imminent financial collapse with only 12 months of funds remaining, Digital Extremes decided to pursue a long-held vision for what used to be Dark Sector and then was now codenamed Lotus. Within 2 months, they developed a working demo featuring spaceship raids and procedurally generated loot and layouts with an emphasis on co-op and PvE gameplay, recognizing there was a gap in the market.
This is so interesting. Thank you for the hydrate. It's just so fun to hear like the history and like the stages this went through.
They approached free-to-play publishers asking for support, but they were getting rejected yet again. Undeterred, Digital Extremes decided to self-fund the project with only 9 months of funds remaining, wanting to give it their all rather than simply just walk away.
How do they self-fund it?
The development of the alpha version of the game saw significant involvement from Rebecca Ford, an intern who led the creation of their community team. This team was crucial in gathering and responding to player feedback, a strategy that helped shape the game's development and ultimately its success.
What? A game company, a developer listening to their community? The community sector actually listening to feedback and not just trying to make people feel like they might kind of be heard? Oh no, making changes according to what people ask for. No. Oh no. That
Embracing the success of Kickstarter campaigns that were going on at the time, Digital Extremes introduced supporter packs to raise additional funds.
Good idea.
This approach, while initially slow, proved ultimately effective and demonstrated that there was an audience for their game. Thus, Warframe was born, a game over a decade in the making, who had faith in itself, scorned by an industry nobody else wanted to make it except for them. It released into beta on Steam in 2013 to over 20,000 players.
Damn.
And has only continued to grow since.
What?
Over the years, I've come to
it was basically like a hit-on release.
Realize that the vast majority of the studios that we grew up loving, the games that we grew up loving, the biggest studios and publishers that are out there all came from very similar humble beginnings.
Yeah.
But the vast majority of them forgot about it.
Basically a contract
company. The ones
company.
that don't end up being the ones that are the most loved and appreciated. Look at Larian Studios. Their story is almost identical to Digital Extremes.
Really?
They started off making their own games to limited success. They did work for hire for a while just to be able to keep the doors open. When that industry started to dry up and move away, they went to go make their own game in Divinity Original Sin. They danced with bankruptcy, almost losing the entire studio, but they found an audience that wanted to support it, and now look at them. Baldur's Gate 3 is heralded as one of the greatest games of all time. They blew up, as they deserve to do so.
I had no idea. It's so funny, my assumptions with game studios that are popular already. I just assume that, like, I don't know, like a big company just like squeezed off a little branch, and they were like, all right, you're making a game now, you're fully funded. It's funny what I won't know. I'll just assume that, game companies, the only way you can do it is by having infinite funding. But damn, this is nice to hear the humble beginnings of, like, the people who made Warframe, the people who made Baldur's Gate 3.
When I look around the industry right now, I see a lot of studios that are making games not because they want to make them, but because they're profit motivated. Purely profit motivated. They no longer look at players as anything other than tools for making money, and that's it. Rather than looking at them for what they actually are, which is a means to be able to deliver a higher quality product, use their feedback and their information to be able to earn their money, and then by extension, make your game even that more popular.
I just don't think the gaming industry, anywhere with entertainment involved, it's so hard to be profit motivated. I just don't think it works. I think that if, like, profit is your main goal in entertainment, like, what the fuck? Like, this is a dream for so many people. Like, there's so many people who want to do this, what you do when you make games, when you I don't know, let's say you're a dancer, a singer, you're an entertainer, anything. So many people want to do what you do for free, for $0. Thank you for the stretch. Oh, I don't know why the Gothling won't work. Let me open that. So I just don't think this huge profit, I think it's doomed. Like, really super profit motivated approach. Like, the games that we remember are the ones that, like, people made who had, like, a vision, a dream, and a passion.
When players are happy, they tend to talk about it a heck of a lot more. And I've also noticed that, games are a form of art. And without soul, there is no art. And in the case of games, I think a lot of players are starting to wake up and realize they can see it in your trailers, they can see it in your gameplay, they can see it when the soul isn't there.
Yeah, that's what I just said.
Know it's there and they see it's there, they're into that game. But when they don't see it, they don't want to have anything to do with it. And I think that's why we've seen a lot of games over the last few years fail.
It's true.
Digital Extremes started out with great intentions, to be honest with you. But that doesn't mean that they didn't make the same mistake.
Then it starts to take a lot of time. Then you realize you need others' SK.
Skills you cannot do all the art, and then you need someone to the studio, trained by contract, underpaid. Yeah.
With great intentions, to be honest with you. But that doesn't mean that they didn't make the same mistakes that many other free-to-play and live service games make time and time again, and that's with its monetization. But the difference is they learn from their mistakes. I don't think anybody can disagree with this. Recently, over the last few years, both live service and free-to-play games have permeated through every space in the entire gaming industry. Every single company wants their Fortnite, Counter-Strike, Genshin Impact, whatever it might be, and of course they would.
Genshin Impact.
They draw in revenues. It would make you wonder why anybody would ever want to make another full-priced game again. But with the introduction of free-to-play live service games, we've seen year over year, month over month, players are losing ground, losing choice, and losing their money. Free-to-play has become synonymous with cutting content and player achievement and putting a price tag on it. While the
oh boy, guys, it's so doomed right now.
Gameplay itself is free, while everything in the game, or put in absurd time restrictions and hurdles for players to be able to overcome just so they can try to earn anything with their own time or their own skill. Studios today are incentivized to actively harm the player experience and lower the quality of the overall product, all in the name of higher profits. Digital Extremes was incredibly nervous about getting into free-to-play because they were afraid that they were going to do it wrong. And
I mean, like, paywalling content, I guess it's hard to invest so much money. You just, like, are so reliant on the game blowing up to be a Genshin-like. And if you don't have that, then you're under. The thing is, I never let myself be taken advantage of, so I I guess I'm unaware of just how bad the system is right now.
In fact, they did. At first, they started selling power. And it wasn't the reputation that they wanted to create for themselves.
Oh?
At the creation of Warframe, you could double the capacity of your mod or skill tree slots in your Warframes. However, there was no way to be able to earn this in-game, and the only way that you could get it was by paying for it with real money.
What? The old mods, you had to buy mods like the modding slots?
Early on, before the game's beta release, Digital Extremes saw the players' feedback regarding this issue and removed it and any other perceived pay-for-power microtransactions, vowing for fair monetization to be a core tenet of the studio moving forward. In that move, and other changes that they made, due to their deep involvement in the early foundations of their game's community, they fostered a positive community spirit and gained even more support. In an interview 6 years ago with Danny O'Dwyer of No Clip Documentaries, they mentioned how difficult it was for them to be able to find any marketing or visibility because at the time, nobody wanted to touch free-to-play games. However,
because
the
it was
positive
so abusive.
community that they had already started to culture, the fact that they had been listening to their community, ended up catching the attention of the late great commentator Total Biscuit, who
Total Biscuit!
came to cover the game and catapult its popularity into the mainstream.
This is way back when. This is a different time when it was just like you basically you could an individual creator could do something like this. Oh, Seven's in the chat for Total Biscuit. Our king. Oh my god. What a hero. What a legend. Total Biscuit sold me on this game? Really? Oh my god. Do they have anything in the game for him?
I think that this is one of the most valuable lessons for Digital Extremes or any company to learn.
Does anyone remember the Total Biscuit funeral they held in the release?
They had a funeral? No! Oh my god, what? The devs had a whole funeral for him? Oh, that's sad. They have a memorial, okay. They canceled their dev stream? No! Oh my god.
Good things happen to good developers, especially those who treat their players as well as Digital Extremes and listens to their feedback. Game developers large and small need to recognize that they are providing a product and service to us,
True.
not the other way around. The expectation is on them to create a fun, fair, entertaining, and valuable experience in exchange for our money.
Yeah, we're not exchanging, there's a certain expectation of time and money investment in games that are labeled free-to-play. When free-to-play games, they have the challenge of having to prove themselves.
I see game developers posting on Reddit talking about how they hate gamers because of YouTube live stream comments, or how a lead Starfield developer makes a Twitter thread saying, funny how disconnected some players are from the realities of game development, and yet they speak with complete authority. I mean, I can guess what it takes to make a Hostess Twinkie, but I don't work in the factory, so what the hell do I know, really? Not a lot. And neither of these opinions that these people have are in the minority of opinions.
This is I'm just going to say it. This is a dookie doo-doo take.
With what authority do players speak? With their money. They are your paying customers. Customers. While players may not know exactly how to voice their concerns, and oftentimes will do it in the wrong way, you still should be listening to them because they are telling you that something is wrong with your game. And at the end of the day, all they want is a better product, which only...
I was gonna say, I can't make a Twinkie, but I can tell when my Twinkie is expired. Or, like, if you laced my Twinkie with shit, I would be able to tell. I know what a Twinkie should taste like, so if I get something that's not a Twinkie, I'm gonna be like, you Twinkie maker, you're fucking stupid. Why is your Twinkie disgusting?
Serves to make you more money in the end. We've seen developers stray from the side of players. However, how many developers have you seen remove a microtransaction from their game because players were using it too much? When Warframe introduced colors for their pet skins, they didn't realize that they had inadvertently created a gambling mechanic where players were trying to search for the rarest skin colors and the combinations that they wanted. DE saw that a player had rolled his pet's color 200 times and their stomach sank. Within a day and a half, they had removed the mechanic from the game.
Oh my god!
And reworked it without the need for player feedback. The spirit of that can be found throughout the entire game. As of a recent update, now everything in the game, just about everything in the game, is earnable in-game with very few outliers. Warframe
Oh my
uses
God.
platinum as its in-game premium currency, and it's fully tradable. Players can go out, farm valuable resources, mods, weapons, and Warframe blueprints, and then trade with other players without ever even spending a dime. You would think
Holy
that this is
crap.
trapped behind some type of end-game progression or something, right? No, you can start doing this within the first 15 to 20 hours of playing the game. I was already trading items with other players and stockpiling currency from the minute that I had started.
This is true. How many primes do I have? How many prime frames have you guys gifted me? I think only 2. But the fact that I am rank, what, 6? That just goes to show you can get them pretty immediately. 5?
At least the vast majority of them outside of cosmetics and color palettes can be earned in-game. So, Mr. YouTuber, that means that Warframe must have the most difficult and high-end equipment behind paywalls or something, right? It has to be insanely difficult to get. No. The pinnacle Warframes and weapons are called primes. You can earn these by cracking relics, and you get relics constantly while you're playing the game. When you go to do these missions to crack the relics, you're playing with 4 players, and all 4 of you can choose to use the exact same relic, which would then increase your chances of being able to get what you wanted, because everybody can choose from everyone else's rewards. If you don't get what you want out of yours, you can just get a copy of somebody else's thing if it's more valuable.
Oh, that's
You can
crazy.
choose to get whatever you want.
I didn't know it was so...
Every weapon, every frame, companion,
like
and
that.
otherwise is at your fingertips. You can earn your way through Warframe without ever even spending a dime, and many players have.
In fact, the quests are fun. It's a grind, but like it's not an insane grind to get some of these frames.
There is no time wasting in Warframe. And what's even more crazier is that adding to this absurdity, they show players how not to spend money within their premium shop. If you go to their premium shop and look at any of the items available in it, next to every item, it tells you how to go earn that item in-game rather than spending money.
No.
They teach
I didn't even
players
notice
how
this.
not to spend money in their shop.
They're like, you could spend money, or
But
you
that doesn't
could
mean
not.
that players don't support the game. In fact, they do quite a lot, because by making things so accessible, giving massive discounts on their currency and things like that, being able to just get all the things that you want in the game by playing it, players just want to spend money on the game
Oh my
because they
God.
want to support it, because they love the game so much.
I know
not because they
this.
feel like they need to. The players are not spending money on a game because they need to overcome some fabricated barrier that's put in place, and if they spend money, they're going to be able to get through it faster or get through it at all. No, instead, they're spending money because they actually want to support the game. They just are enjoying themselves and want to spend the money.
My
Now,
God.
mind you, some of this is definitely driven by convenience, but the vast majority of players just love the game and want to support it. And that's not to say that there aren't areas worth criticizing. I'm still not a fan of the fact of them having 12 to 72 hour crafting timers on weapons and warframes. It's just too much. I don't know.
Oh, 72 hours might be much. 12 hours isn't bad. 12 hours is just come back tomorrow. 72? I don't think I mind a 72. It kind of makes it, it's like for me, the psychology behind this is like when you buy a book or something and you're like so fucking excited to read the book, but the second you get the book, you're like, oh.
Also, there's
Did I
a
completely
big
misunderstand that?
limitation on the amount of weapon and warframe slots, inventory slots that are available early on for players. That's something that in general just needs to get fixed.
Yeah, you guys have bought me so many slots. I don't have that. So they're Canadian. Damn.
But the thing is that the longer you play the game, the less those things become an issue, because you have so many other things that you're working on, leveling up, playing as, farming for, while all these other things are building in the background that you really don't even notice it all that much.
It's true.
And while there's room for improvement, this is largely the most ethical live service game I've ever seen monetized. And I don't think any other game wants to try to compete on those terms.
I don't
They
think you
definitely
can.
don't want to compete on their content.
Well, the thing is, how do you even approach? You can't make a game like this, because a game like this requires clearly a lot of money. You can't make a game on the idea of, hey, you can't get funding with hey, this is what we're gonna do. We're gonna not maximize profits. We're not going to really focus on making money. We're just gonna focus on making a game. That doesn't work.
Warframe's first turning point came when the game released on Steam, which marked a critical success and provided the studio with the necessary resources to be able to continue to support and develop the game.
Nice
Unlike
skin.
competitive shooters that can maintain an audience with minimal updates, Warframe faced the challenge of sustaining interest in a PvE-centric game, which is far more difficult. To overcome this, Digital Extremes heavily leaned on the experienced development team who had weathered the storm through the toughest times and possessed the deep institutional knowledge that was necessary to make the game successful. If it wasn't for the fact that they held on to their employees when the game and the studio was facing its closure, they would have never been able to make the game the success that it is today. In the years following the game's release on Steam, Warframe saw a rapid expansion in content. The studio introduced clans, player hubs, a plethora of new weapons and warframes, and diverse gameplay elements like open world areas, vehicles, and space combat.
That wasn't
but
in
the
there?
most significant shift in the game's identity came with the release of The Second Dream, a cinematic quest that redefined Warframe as a game. This quest introduced fully voice-acted, high-quality cinematic experiences with intricate writing and storytelling that elevated the game from a compelling free-to-play title to a truly exceptional experience.
This was the when I played this live, The Second Dream, I had never seen so many people so desperate for me not to get spoiled. Usually, like, if I'm playing a game and I'm like, what's this? Everyone will be like, it's this.
No longer was Warframe just a free-to-play game. It was just a great game that happened to be free-to-play.
Damn.
Digital Extremes continued to push boundaries with subsequent updates, including the new war, Whispers in the Walls, and the upcoming major update, Warframe 1999. These expansions demonstrate a level of writing, character development, and cinematic quality that's typically associated with AAA blockbuster titles and reflect nothing of what we've seen in typical free-to-play games.
It's true,
The studio's ambition to deliver
really
high-end content remained evident with every release, further increasing the game's reputation among players, both new and old.
Yeah, how many PvE online games like this have this kind of cutscene, like this kind of production value?
That's what's made the Warframe that we have today. One of the systems I was the most shocked by was at one point I unlocked what I can best describe as Sea of Thieves in space. You get a railjack, a fully customizable ship that you can upgrade and has multiple weapons that are controlled by other players in co-op. You hire NPCs to manage the ship. You fight other ships. You can board other ships, steal other ships, and raid enemy bases.
Wait, I had no idea it was this cool. I had no fucking idea that railjacks were this cool.
A small thing I truly adore about Warframe and is how well they handle stories about identity, TR.
Trauma, LGBT, and autism. Yeah, they're really, really, I mean, it's well written. Really well written. The Rel story, I mean, that had me fucking, like, when I get sad, I get mad instead. I, like, mask my sorrow. I'm just like, it's, instead of crying, why don't I just yell? So when I streamed Rel's story, I mean, I was just, like, mad.
While the feature didn't land well on release and it had its issues, what is available today is an absolute blast to play, and it feels like it's completely native to the game and like it could have been there from the start. In the landscape of live service and free-to-play games, many developers opt for the safe approach, focusing on incremental updates and minor changes rather than undertaking any significant overhaul. This safe strategy often results in steady, gradual improvements, but most major additions and transformative changes end up being locked behind paid expansions, premium content, and microtransactions. Typically, free-to-play games and live service games will introduce minor tweaks, seasonal updates, and limited time offers to try to keep players engaged. Well, Warframe does the exact same thing.
What is this game? What game is this?
They aren't strangers.
Oh, is this a spoiler? All right.
To making big splashes with major updates.
What game is this? I'm not looking.
All the while, they're not charging the players a dime.
I'll close my eyes.
Other games with standard offerings can sometimes refresh the experience and provide new incentives to be able to log in, but they rarely bring the wide-sweeping changes that might significantly alter the gameplay or narrative, making the game overall feel more stale. There's too much focus on monetization, and it's leading to a disparity between the expectations of the player and the financial outlook of the developer. Today, we have developers that are understaffed, underpaid, under a lot of pressure, under-delivering to their audience, while for some odd reason, the company is still expecting more money. You have CEOs that are out there projecting growing profit without investing in growing content. And their expectation is because you're playing, then you must be paying, and I'm sick of it.
Well, free to play, has certainly a barrier. You're basically hooking people in, right? You're hooking people in with a taste of your product, but you have to kind of earn it. The same way that like people need to, it has infinite monetization opportunities. Like if you buy a $60 game and, you know, you play it for 2,000 hours, like, okay, I can't think of an exact game that has 2,000 hours of content for $60, but you buy Hollow Knight for $3.99 and you play for 100 hours. Well, obviously you've gotten crazy value. You have to accept the fact that you're going to have players get insane value, and they're picking you. They're picking you for that. Yu-Gi-Oh! Yeah, for example. League of Legends. Like, there's going to be people who do not spend money on your game. That's why they are there. The value you get is out of them playing the game for 500 hours for $0 and telling their friends and saying the game is good. Like, you need some people to play the game long enough for $0 to get in the people, get more friends in. Like, the reputation is so important. You're hoping you can't expect everyone to spend money when the point is that your game is free. So, yeah, this is, again, you have to earn it. Like, you really got to earn it, and you can't expect it.
Look, just recently I saw with Apex Legends, the big drama that cropped up around it, where basically, long story short, developer goes in and makes it where you can no longer earn the next battle pass by completing the last battle pass, where previously you were able to. And they made these changes, gaslighting the players, saying that it's because we're trying to deliver you guys a more valuable experience. We're doing it because we're trying to grow the game.
This is for you.
We're giving you guys more value. That's really what it
is.
is.
You love it.
When anybody with any base level of intelligence can see how insulting it is to say something like that when it's
oh yes,
so transparently not that. And
this is like the equivalent of like slapping you and then being like, look what you made me do. Look what you made me do. You did this. You want this.
Not the only developer doing things like that. You see it across the board. So many developers that are making minor changes to their game, but all of their focus is on their monetization. How else they can shift and move things around to make it where they can make more money and you get less out of playing the game. And in that, the only thing that you're serving to do is make an audience that isn't loyal to you, that is just waiting, frothing at the mouth at the chance to be able to jump onto the next game and get as far away from you as they possibly can.
You know what's funny? And my history with this, by the way, I played League of Legends. I started in 2015 as a League of Legends content creator. And it's so funny because that's how I felt about League, is that, God, I would do fucking anything to get away from this game. Like, I felt so stuck with it. And the first time, I mean, any other game, I was just, now I play anything. But I actually specifically don't play League anymore. I don't think Riot's bad. I just think the game sucks. The game doesn't even suck. The community had a problem. It's probably much better now. But like, yeah, I completely relate to this.
Sure, they're playing your game right now. Sure, it's popular right now, but that's because they don't really have another option, and there's nothing else right now that's that hot. So once there is something that hot that comes out, you're done. That's it.
Truth.
Players are a valuable resource, and you need to value them.
Yep.
They provide you with everything that you need to be successful, both creatively and financially. And if you use them the appropriate way, you can be huge, you can be massive. And while that's not the truth for every single game, because every single game is different, they have a different audience, they have a different use case, not everybody plays the same kind of games. When you value them, they keep you afloat. They help you grow.
It's true.
And in the case of Digital Extremes and Warframe, I don't think that there's another developer that's out there that appreciates their audience the same way or does the same things that Digital Extremes does with their audience.
It's almost like when people buy things for Digital Extremes, I feel like there's a certain amount of people who are buying things to support the company. Like they're thinking more about the game itself rather than the thing they get. Very interesting. 100%. Yeah.
Baby Larian
you don't
Studios.
have to
Why
jingle
do you guys
keys.
Have to go and create a community YouTube channel?
Very rare.
And even more so, why am I not in it? I get it. Like Duality and Co-Carnage are really cool, but like I made a lot of videos on Baldur's Gate. Come on, man.
Relax. You're
Initially,
fine.
I had wondered how Warframe was able to hold on to such a consistent player base for so long.
Don't expect
Regardless
things.
of good or bad updates, new games, or financial declines, their core audience has stayed rock solid for over a decade now, and in and of itself, that is a feat that very few games have accomplished. It wasn't until I started streaming my experience over on Twitch, playing the game for the very first time, that I was exposed to the game's community, and in that, I noticed how positive they are. An eerily similar experience I had with Final Fantasy XIV, but altogether completely different. Many players have been playing the game since alpha. They've unlocked everything in the game, effectively beaten the game, logging thousands of hours. However, they are still logging in regularly, even daily. They are out there guiding new players and doing things that they've done thousands of times because they love the game that much. And I was curious where that comes from. Well, sure, the game has regular updates, new content, new weapons, and new warframes. I couldn't see how Warframe could become somebody's daily driver until I saw how Digital Extremes engages with their community.
Oh, okay.
Oftentimes, developers lay silent between content releases and major updates.
Look at this.
They put their head in the sand, they let a couple people go out and respond or repost on Twitter, and only come out of hibernation to make promotional content to drive up interest around the next big update or major change. In that time of silence, I think it makes it feel like updates are further apart than they actually are. Players aren't engaged, and when they aren't engaged, they lose interest. And DE makes it really hard for you not.
Is the CEO here? Oh my god. Is this like, how often do they do these dev streams?
Not to feel engaged.
They had a short stream today? Oh, I didn't know that.
As they support their community like they're content creators rather than game developers.
Wow.
Every single week, they go live on YouTube and Twitch to do something they call a dev short, where Steve Sinclair, the CEO of Digital Extremes, together with Rebecca Ford, the once community manager and now creative director of Warframe, just talk to the players for 15 minutes. They answer questions, they tell them about things that they're working on, they joke around. They do this every week. What other game studio?
Oh my god, wait, they're streamers. Oh my god. So I guess these two stream once a weekly, or okay, those two stream once a week, and then they have a whole thing dev stream, what they're working on, all that. Damn, they're basically they're running their platforms very well. You can get behind these devs.
Studios give that kind of transparency to the players. What other game companies are that grounded to make sure that their CEO of all people is constantly in contact with the players? None. And that's not all they do. Every Wednesday and Thursday, they host prime time over on Twitch, and each of them have their own separate streams for English and Spanish, where the developers and community managers come out to play the game with the players. Have you ever heard of anything more absurd than that? Developers actually playing their game and playing their game with players.
I love this frame. Look how cool this fucking frame looks. What the fuck is this? Is awesome. Oh my god.
With an audience up to 250,000 viewers, giving away skins, Twitch drops, different items, premium currencies. They tell stories, they play trivia games with chat, and they show off different community art submissions.
It's the
They are more involved with their community than I think any developer ever has been, and the fruits of their labor shine so brightly.
Oh my god.
It shines in how positive their community is, how engaged they are,
oh my
how
god.
well the game is developed and supported, how solid the monetization is. It's why they are allowed to take the risks with the games like they have, and even with future games in development like Soulframe. The players know that they're...
Well, I've heard a little bit about Soulframe, but I don't know what Soulframe is. Is it a sequel? Is it another free-to-play?
Appreciated. They know that the developer is trying to achieve something, and they can tell that they truly love what they are doing. They can clearly see that these developers love their game, and it shows.
I love the fucking concept of this game. I think the concept of this game is so good that I probably like would have played this even if like the dev team wasn't this great and the community wasn't like so amazing. But the fact that the community is so amazing and the devs are so cool just makes it like the longevity is like crazy. I mean, I fucking love robots. I fucking love space. I love like tech punk theme ninja. I speak Japanese. Look at my fucking starting soon screen. Shit. Look at this other one. Look at this. This is my fucking aesthetic. I had infinite ideas in my head for who I wanted to be. I'm a fucking VTuber. You can be anybody. And I chose a fucking space explorer bandit. This is so cool. This game is like so aesthetically perfect for me, so I probably would have played it anyway. But getting this like is just so, I don't know, like the devs really make this perfect.
Digital Extremes recognizes what many developers have slowly started to drift away from, that players are a part of your game, and without them, your game wouldn't be what it is. And in fact, for Warframe, that's literally true. In the early days of Warframe, movement is exactly what you would have expected the game to be, just a over-the-shoulder third-person shooter. It had sliding and running, but overall the movement was slow. Players discovered an exploit where they called it Zoran coptering, where they could essentially fly across maps, sling themselves across maps, and complete missions in a fraction of the time. Instead of removing this, instead of standing against the players and changing something that the players were enjoying or doing,
they
recognized that the players were exploiting this because they were trying to avoid something that was actively ruining their experience.
The time.
So Digital Extremes revamped the entire movement system for the game, reworking it from the ground up to be one of the most fluid movement systems in all of gaming.
I will say the movement system is, for me, what like sets this game apart. The movement system is just, it feels like you're swimming through air.
This video took a lot longer to record than I thought it would. It's already dark outside. You might actually end up hearing my cat chattering with another cat that shows up outside, this little orange cat. Just kind of talk through the window.
That's cute.
It's adorable. Over the last few years, I've noticed a conversation that's popped up between game developers and game journalists, and they're talking about how cold and unfeeling and how unsympathetic gamers are towards the plight of the industry, how some of these companies are failing, how games are failing, how companies are going out of business, how people are losing their jobs, and they are absolutely right. Because at the end of the day, we are consumers, we're buying games, and if you do not make a game that we want to play and it wasn't worth our money and we wasted it on your game and you go out of business as a result of that, that's on you.
Yeah.
You got what you got coming to you.
And it happens.
It didn't used to be like that. And I think the reason why is because back, and this is something that's just kind of evolved over time, is that many of the companies that are out there right now, some of the biggest companies that are out there right now, came from humble beginnings, no different than Larian Studios or Digital Extremes or anyone else that's out there.
Yeah.
But when they were smaller, they felt like they were one of us because they were one of us.
They were just gamers.
Players that were making games because they wanted to make cool games for them to play and for other people to play. But
basically big devs, some people have really lost the narrative.
As time went on and they got bigger and they made more money and they started selling out and literally selling out to other companies, what ended up happening is that conversation changed.
Shareholders.
That interaction that we used to have, that relationship that we used to have with the developers, that parasocial-like relationship that we had.
Not saying parasocial relationships with the devs are good. You can support the devs without thinking you're their friends.
Started to disappear because they started talking to us through a veil of money. It was always apology.
All right, piggy bank. All right, piggy bank. Poke, poke. Cough up a couple bucks. And maybe we'll tell you. Can you imagine if some of these devs were honest? But yeah, no, there is this idea of like, you don't want to get close to the devs. We're not, we want the devs to be this anonymous creature in the background fueling our infinite money glitch. Yeah.
Letters and tweets that are just trying to manipulate the truth more than anything else. It's all gaslighting.
And now that I'm thinking about it, it's kind of strange. Like sometimes you can really view this stuff as art, like you can view games as art. And I don't know who the fuck made any of these games that I like recently. Like we don't sign games that we make. It's kind of nice to see faces to some of these devs and team leaders.
Trying to help us. You're not trying to do anything for us. You're just trying to make money. And to be honest with you, it's cowardice. It's so disgusting. Like, if you just want to make money, go make money, dog. Say you're doing it for it. I'd almost have more respect for a company that just laid their nuts out on the table and said, we're doing it because we want your money. Rather than trying to paint it in these colorful words.
It's true. I would respect the honesty.
To try to make it feel like they're our friends, and really this is all just for you guys. That's not what it is.
Yeah, the dishonesty.
I think there's a lot to learn from a company like Digital Extremes, especially in the way that they stay connected with their audience. That level of connection brings in insane levels of endearment, where the people that are playing the game just genuinely love the work that the people are doing because they like the people too. They like both things at the exact same time, and that's an awesome thing to have. My cat is freaking out right now.
Show the cat. Show your car.
That's an awesome thing to have, because players at the end of the day do want to be appreciated.
Yeah.
We want to be heard. And the more we're heard,
look at these subtitles.
And the more we're appreciated, and the more that the game is actually worth our time and money, the more likely we are to continue to invest in that game and invest in future things that you do. However, the vast majority of the industry is really doing nothing other than creating unloyal fan bases. Sure, your game might be doing okay now, but the minute that somebody else comes by, like Digital Extremes or something like that, that does the same things that they do,
but better.
Or better.
Yeah.
Your audience is gone.
Proof is in the pudding. How many of us used to play games like League? I mean, Riot has other games. It's funny to talk about League like that, but it's my humble beginnings.
I think there's a lot to learn from this. I really do. That's the whole reason I make these wake-up call videos in the first place, is because I think there is a lot to learn from some of the best studios that are on the market, some of the best games that are on the market. And there's a ton of them. There is.
Let's go. I agree with him. Guys, this is crazy. I can't. That being said, I've been kind of raking on League in particular, just because I have a long history. But I can't wait for the MMO whenever the fuck that comes out. The fighting game. Riot's got some good stuff. I love the characters. I just don't really like the MOBA at this moment. But and I'm also like, my current comparison and the media I'm looking at is Warframe, where I've just been showered with love and attention from the community and the devs. All I've heard about is how cool they are. So yeah,